Divides between Americans grew even sharper in 2023, with political clashes over reproductive health care, education, and American involvement in numerous wars overseas.
Vaccines, suppressing information about where the virus came from, suppressing the news. I think America is responding to authoritarianism right now. This is what this is.
Turmoil and controversy inside and outside the courtroom at Donald Trump's criminal trial here in New York City. The NYPD says it is reviewing security protocols after a man set himself on fire just steps away from the Manhattan courthouse where the former president is standing trial.
Had it! We want our country back! We want honesty! You're sellouts and you're going down! You take a bribe, you're gonna deal with America because we are coming after every single one of
you. Looking at United States socio-political climate today, it's getting obvious. The division in social fabrics have never been so massive. Daily aspect of an average American life has been politicized to the bone. Every event, every show, every single piece of advertisement. In fact, every rising figure in the intellectual circle.
Well, I think that we should put Americans above foreigners.
You know that the whole point of...
Nowadays, United States is witnessing the rising cults of personalities, mythologizing extremely flawed men whom, if proven, are guilty criminals, into modern forms of saviors in Western Hemisphere, taking advantage of people's desperation for finding a solution in current circumstances. The American public find themselves in middle of ideological clashes on daily basis, clashes over fundamental and unfortunately unraveled social and political matters, like the treatment of minorities, women, or less represented members of the society. Additionally, economical matters, like immigration policies, border securities, interest rate versus inflation, taxation of wealthy, or nepotism in higher echelons of power. Traditionally, these topics used to be hubs for political discourse. Nowadays, it seems like many of these points have been turned into easy catalysts for rallying the people towards a possibly misrepresented political direction.
The question is, radical left. Will you shut up, man? Listen, who is on your list, Joe? Who's on your list?
Gentlemen, I think
this is so unprecedented.
Tribalism is the norm of the day.
Well, that's what they said it was designed to do.
Okay, you cited freedom of speech in that. Why should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended?
Because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. You know, like you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather uncomfortable.
Women versus men, liberal versus conservative, white versus black, blue versus black. These forms of tribalism and aggression will also have a psychological effect on the public as well, especially the highly vulnerable individuals in late teens and early 20s without a fully developed frontal cortex. On the far left side of the political spectrum, the extremely important matter of women's rights in society, which for decades have been the measurement of progress in all countries across the globe, now has been reduced to modern radical feminism. A movement that takes pride in demonizing and bastardizing all men in general, and attempts to minimize their undeniable influence in society, This faction of feminism claims concepts such as nuclear family structure or fidelity are factors holding women captive from life achievements. To the point that some self-proclaimed feminist leaders, such as Bell Hook, tell women all across the globe that if they are pro-life, they shouldn't consider themselves feminists at all.
Clear about what are the boundaries, what is the line that you cross, that you can in fact say, I'm a feminist. Like for me, my students will say, well, I'm anti-abortion, but I'm a feminist. And I'll say, but that is impossible.
All these newfound dogmas over the years have damaged many aspects of social fabric, dropping the success rate of marriage to a shocking 41%. In addition, it has resulted to alienating the more vulnerable section of men, which over the years has caused the suicide rate in men to increase all the way up to 76,000 cases per annum, exactly 4 times the women's suicide rate. Unlike their claim, this faction of feminism not only don't represent the feminist men and women across America and all across the globe, they also seem to have lost the plot. The fight for gender equality was never synonymous with damaging the other one. It should be the celebration of cooperation between the two genders. Gay and trans rights are the other aspects of social rights movement, radicalized not only by some individuals, but multi-billion-dollar conglomerates, to the point of transforming the celebration of individuals subscribed to an alternative lifestyle into a borderline collectivizing party under the banner of LGBTQ+, allowing some opportunistic individuals to exploit the innocent civilians for personal and morally ambiguous gains. It's only fair to mention that similar types of exploits and radicalizations are indeed noticeable on the right side of the political spectrum. As a matter of fact, the border between right and far-right politics seems to be fading away day by day, ranging from the denial of global warming.
I don't think we have to care about the environment? Like, we
No, not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit?
No. Okay, let me clarify this. I don't throw trash on the ground. Like, I'm not saying like we need to like, trash the environment. Like, but do I believe in climate change? No.
You don't believe in climate change?
Well, I think the climate always changes, I guess is what I should say. Do I believe that this is like, an issue that is global warming, which they've changed conveniently. They got rid of the word once scientists started disproving it. Now they only say climate change. No.
Causing us to waste the minimum valuable time we have left to save a future for the next generations of this country and all across the globe. Or a shocking disregard for the livelihood of civilians affected by the Middle Eastern war machine. Or resistance towards gun control, accountable for 55% of the suicide rate in the United States and 85.7% of homicides, making firearms the leading cause of death in America, and a very difficult point to ignore. But above all this, the scariest part of right politics in the United States, it's the ambiguity of it. These politics always allow the extremists of the ideology to consider themselves part of the general social movement, especially dangerous in the era of rising populism, not only across the United States, but across the globe as well. In Germany, we have witnessed the AfD party gaining minor attraction, despite its devotion towards National Socialism and racial theories. Same pattern is noticeable in Italy, Poland, and definitely United States with the rise of Christian nationalism. But thankfully, we are witnessing resistance towards these movements as well, which is quite heartwarming. All these ideological battlegrounds in the United States didn't appear yesterday. It's caused by half a century of divide and conquer mentality in politics. In order to divide the power in half, America had to divide the country in half. Traditionally, half pushing for systematic secularism while the others were rallied to supposedly preserve their way of life. Half pushing to take out systematic racism, while the others were rallied to, again, preserve their way of life. Half pushing for gender equality, while the others were trying to keep their women in check. I suppose at the time this was the natural and the only way of transforming a fast-growing society into the world-dominating hegemony it is today, with also cushioning the impact of changes to the more stubborn and dogmatic group of the society. What about today's America? America after Watergate, America after Henry Kissinger, after dropping 500,000 tons of bombs on villagers, America after Dick Cheney, after the collapse of the housing market, after Nam, Korea, Cambodia, Libya, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan. What's next? Iran? In the world of geopolitics, United States is infamous for entering a country with promise of peace, leaving with 3 million people dead and 40 years of civil war. The average age of a congressman in the United States nowadays is 64.3 years. 50 of them are beyond the age of retirement. They have grown so old they are unable to form comprehensive sentences. But that's the norm these days, considering the commander-in-chief.
How would you say your mental focus is?
Oh, it's focused. I haven't, look, I have trouble even saying to myself, my own head, the number of years. I no more think of myself as being as old as I am than fly.
Today, people's trust in the establishment is basically non-existent, dropping year by year as we go on. Heading towards arguably the most unbelievable and messiest election in recent history, President Biden will surely push to lower the interest rates in order to gain some attractions towards election. And that factor alone will increase the inflation rate that has been recently settled at 3%. At the same time, the world is entertaining the thought of removing United States dollar as the leading world currency, in addition to us basically facing down a barrel of another possible Cold War with an Eastern power. During all these challenges and all this turmoil, our government's level of competency have never been so low, to the point of becoming comical, with one of our presidential candidates facing possible imprisonment. These are surely troubling times. And we are making it worse. According to PRC, the number of thoughtless followers of liberalism and conservatism in the United States have been doubled to 21% in the last decade. The ideological overlap between the two groups have been diminished. We have started to choose a side in a civil war. We have started to surround ourselves with only the individuals who solely agree with us, creating division everywhere, from outside all the way to our own dinner tables. Our aggressions, frustrations, our struggles, but most importantly, our shortcomings in communications has pushed the average people, the non-political people, into anger and into frustration with ourselves. We are spreading what's been hurting us all this time. The outside threats are still existing, yet we spend our days more afraid of our neighbors. The government is slowly becoming a subsidiary for Lockheed Martin, yet we fight over a Bud Light commercial. Things are gonna get a lot worse before they get any better. But the important thing is, when everything is getting worse, we would be busy fighting each other. We need to find a way through all this aggression, through all this confusion. We need to find out that under all these masks and groups and labels, we are still people, neighbors, friends, classmates, lovers. I guess we'll see. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget, this was just a take.